What's happening, APLers? Here at the week 6 preview. We'll get to it. I'm trying to get through a little faster this week than I have in previous weeks. So Jake and Greg is the first matchup that we'll go through here. Jake leads the all-time series here, 16-9, and looks like that might continue this week. So on the Jake side of the ball, we got Lamar, the quarterback, over Hurts. Got to do it. All Lamar's crushing this year, so you can't bench that guy. He's has a pretty solid matchup here against the Commanders. At face value, they're allowing 290 points to the quarterbacks each week. But if you dig in a little further, they've gotten ripped by Baker and Burrow. And they've not gotten ripped by Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson. So this feels like a really good spot for Lamar. Commanders can score points, and Ravens are going to need to score points to keep up. So 342, big number for Lamar. The running back spot, Jake's got Kamara and Dowdle. Kamara's always a good bet for a lot of touches. He has a weird quarterback this week, so maybe the Bucs defense can just really focus on him and shut him down, but he's just going to catch so many passes that he probably still has a pretty solid day. So maybe not a huge upside there, but still a good start. Dowdle has come on in the last couple of weeks, 136 points last week, 82 points the week before. Last week was against a tough Steelers defense that doesn't really give up many points to the running backs, and that's exactly what's happening this week with the Lions. The Lions are really tough against the run. They got crushed by Ken Walker last week, but other than that, nobody's really done much against them, and they've played Kyron and the Bucs, which had Rashad White and Buck Irving both not do anything, and James Conner had 26 points in week 3, so kind of stymie the run. And Jake's other options here are Justice Hill and Javonte Williams because Kareem Hunt is on bye, so probably not going with any of those and just hoping for the best from Dowdle. Wide receiver is interesting for Jake. Rolling Keon Coleman out again this week. His one catch for 50 or 49-yard touchdown last week. Gets a call again here against the Jets. Tougher matchup with those guys, so not expecting a ton from Keon Coleman. Tyreek's on bye, and Lockett went on Thursday, so these are going to be the guys unless we're going to find somebody off the waiver wire. Christian Kirk against the Bears. Tough matchup there, too. The Bears are extremely solid against the pass. Nobody has really done too much against them. Nico is the only guy that really did a ton of damage. Everybody else is under 86 points. So not expecting a huge game from Kirk there over in London. Tolbert, I think he has pretty solid upside there in the Lions-Cowboys game, which should be a fun game. Dallas should have to pass a lot in that, and the Lions are very bad against the pass. So good spot there. 65 points seems like floor for Tolbert. Definitely has upside. Freiermuth, I don't know, just not too much to get excited about. I say the same thing every week. The 77 points that is in there for his projection looks fine. To me, we had the 1 week where he's over 100 with the 139, but other than that, he's kind of in that range. So kicker has been good, and then defense looks solid. So I think Lamar headlines the week here for Jake, and then we're hoping the rest of the guys can somebody can have a big game in there, but it doesn't look super promising for them. On the Greg side of the ball, he had Purdy go on Thursday night with 352. Nice number. Nice 76-yard touchdown there to Debo. That really helps that total too. At running back, James Conner against the Packers is a good bet. That one looks pretty solid. Conner has been good this year. Other than that week against the Lions, he's been over 100 every week with a couple, 134 and a 145 in there. Packers look like they're kind of middle of the pack against the rush, but they've had somebody go over 100, like pretty healthy amount over 100, other than the Tennessee guys in week 3. So good spot for Connor against the Packers defense. Running back 2, Greg has a few options here. You got Jerome Ford in against the Eagles. Also has Madison against the Steelers, and then Trey Sermon against the Titans to look at. So Greg's rolling with Ford. Eagles matchup is fine. They can give up yards on the ground for sure. So probably going with that matchup is the best one. However, it's just Jerome Ford. He hasn't really done a whole lot this year. So his best game, 92 points. 95 points. He has a 95 and a 92, and then stuff in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So 74 is fine there. Don't feel like there's a ton of upside. 2 receivers went on Thursday, Ayuk and JSN, and not feeling super awesome about either of those starts. So we need something big from the remaining wide receiver spot. Greg has 2 options here. We got a Dunze against the Jags. Jags are horrific against the pass. And Bears have been throwing it more lately, so Odunze is in the lineup and seems like a good spot. Still only projected for 54 points, but we're hoping for more because the Jags are the worst in the league against the pass. Rashid Shaheed is sitting on the bench. Josh Downs also on the bench. That's probably a good spot with Richardson starting. But Shaheed has been really good every week except for the 1 week where he got a 0, but he does have Spencer Rattler throwing him the ball. So Greg's probably going with the better quarterback in a really good matchup here for Dunze. Cade Otton is the feature guy here in the background of Greg's picture because I think he has the best spot here to go nuts to get Greg some points to make up for the wide receivers that went on Thursday. So Otton against the Saints looks good. Saints have given up a lot to the tight end, but the majority of that came against Dallas Goedert. So I don't know, the tight end who can score tight end points metric is pretty iffy. Because they also have weeks where they gave up 0 points to the tight end and 9 points to the tight end and then 350 to Goddard. So Otton just needs to be the guy that gets the ball after Mike Evans gets thrown out for fighting. That's what we need. And we need a bunch of field goals from Chase McLaughlin here for Greg. So add up the totals, and we got Jake on top here, 10-14 to 964. So 50-point favorite here for Jake. So I think Jake sneaks by and moves to 5-1. Lamar is the big point scorer and gets just enough to get Jake to the win for the week. Next matchup is Ryan versus Corey. So Ryan has Mr. Bigsby in the lineup this week over ETN, and Corey is going with his hometown boy there, Kirk, because Mr. Mahomes is on bye. So Corey sneaks in a free pickup of Kirk Cousins after he has a 621 point game last week. So Corey will be hoping for more of that this week. Corey leads the all-time series 14-10, and we'll take a look here. So Ryan has the mostly disappointing Josh Allen going on Monday night against the Jets. 269 is the projection. Jets defense is tough. Josh Allen has had not a great year throwing the ball. They've been under 180 yards passing 3 out of the 5 weeks so far. Jets are number 1 against quarterbacks. They've played pretty trashy quarterbacks. Brock Purdy's their best one. He had 261. But other than that, they've played Will Levis, Jacoby Brissett, Bo Nix, and Sam Darnold. We all watched that game last week and know that the Vikings didn't have to pass because they were up by a bunch. So still not a good spot. Jets defense is tough. Don't feel like there's a huge game coming from Josh Allen. Bigsby gets a start over ETN. Projections only for 59 because ETN is going to play, and maybe that workload gets split between them. But if you read stuff and listen to stuff, Bigsby is the man there and looks really great. So maybe there's some upside. Bears defense, a little bit scary. Not as much on the ground as they are in the air. They've had somebody over 100 points 4 out of the 5 weeks. So Roshan Johnson is the running back 2 over Zach Moss. So we have both running backs here in the same game. It's been the DeAndre Swift show for sure, and in Chicago for the last couple weeks. But the Jags are bad against the run, so maybe Roshan gets enough carries here to be useful. You know, Zach Moss probably a little banged up earlier in the week, but sounds like both he and Chase Brown are going to play in a potentially fun game against the Giants on Sunday night. So probably a decision there. Jamar Chase has been all world last few weeks. Gets the Giants. It's Jamar Chase. It's a good spot, no matter what. Giants are better against the pass than others. DK only had 49 points last week. CD had 133. Murray Cooper had 133. Other than that, there's like not much that anybody's done against them so far this year, but it's Jamar. It doesn't matter. Chris Godwin against the Saints. Again, foreshadowing the Mike Evans getting kicked out of the game for fighting with Marshawn Lattimore here, but Godwin came out of the gates pretty hot. He was over 100 points for the first 2 weeks and has settled in the 70-point range here. So the 88 projection, I don't know, just doesn't feel like the Bucs are going to need to throw a ton because they're playing Spencer Rattler, but we'll see how it plays out. Alec Pierce gets the start as the third wide receiver over Deontay Johnson. Pierce has been the deep ball specialist for the Colts. He doesn't get a lot of targets. We had 3, 7, 2, 2, and 3 so far this year, but he's converting them into impressive point totals where he has 2 games that are huge, 148, 157. So Brian's going for the boom play here, and Alec Pierce with Richardson back at quarterback, he definitely seemed to favor Pierce as well. Ferguson has just been stellar so far this year. About 150 points is what he's been putting up each week in what should be a good game script here. So nice spot for Ferguson. Kicker and defense is fine. Kyle Van Noy, probably I think he's the lowest projected IDP guy. So he's both he and Hutchinson are the big play guys that you need them to get some sacks and turnovers to score. On the Corey side, we get Cousins against the Panthers. So he's the pickup and fill-in, as I mentioned before. The Panthers are averaging, giving up over 300 points a game. They got crushed by Caleb Williams last week. Burrow put up 294, but he probably stopped trying after a while. And the other quarterbacks they've played haven't been super hard. So I think the only thing that limits Kirk here is if the Falcons are up by enough that they just don't need to pass. It's probably not going to turn into a game like the Bucs where they threw that many times, but it's like a decent start. Eckler gets the potentially all the work here with Brian Robinson missing the game. Robinson missing the game, but that Jeremy McNichols dude has been running the ball a lot too there in Washington. But Eckler, I think, seems like a good start. Talked about the Ravens and Commanders game a little bit with Jake's start there with Lamar. Just think it's a good environment to have a player playing. And Eckler catches the ball in the backfield, which we would assume the Commanders are going to need to be doing that to keep up with the Ravens. Jacobs against the Cardinals, really good spot. Cardinals defense, not good. Jacobs, good. At home, nice spot. AJ Brown returns against the Browns, who may not be scary anymore. They can be beat. McLaurin got him last week. Neighbors got him when he played him. CD had 91, so maybe not super scary. So looking forward to seeing him back on the field. Should be solid. Mooney has been great. this season. So 78 points seems like a decent one against the Panthers. So Corey will be hoping for the Cousins to Mooney connection to get a lot of points. DJ Moore showed up last week. Talked a little bit about the Jags pass defense with Greg with the Dunze start. So DJ Moore looks like a good spot. Kittle, really nice game on Thursday night. He had 2 touchdowns, 58 yards. Just been really good. McPherson, Sunday night start. He's been solid too. Defense looks good. So this one comes out favoring Corey by quite a bit. So I think Josh Allen's going to have a big hole to dig out of on Monday night. You're going to need something special to get the win, and the Jets matchup is just a tough one to get something special done against, or to get something special going. So go with Corey. Next matchup here is the super team versus Solomon. There's been a lot of trash talk going so far this week between these two, like elite level trash talk. I mean, it's more elite level from one side. Kevin's been trash talking with the same stuff he's been using for decades, and Solomon's got good stuff. So picture here, the PR shitstorm that Stephon Diggs is in seems to be getting glossed over, but figured it was worth pointing out the Diggs Cardi B relationship here. So Ross leads the series all time 22-13. Maybe that'll spur on some trash talk tomorrow morning. But we'll take a look at the matchups here. So the super team gets Joe Burrow against the Giants. Burrow has been on fire lately and seems like a good spot to continue to be on fire. Giants give up over 300 points. Cincinnati's defense is not good. So just looks like shit, like every week shootouts here for the Bengals. So good spot for Burrow. Jordan Mason gets banged up on Thursday night, which if he would not have, it could have been an absolutely monster game because the 49ers ran all over the Seahawks. So 83 points for Mason before he went out, and nice point total because he went out early. He had a big run there in the first quarter that got him a big chunk of that. Kevin starts Ken Walker over Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery, both those guys playing Dallas who cannot defend the run at all. So he goes with Ken Walker, doesn't really do much. He gets the 1-yard touchdown and then catches a ton of passes as the Seahawks are trying to come from behind and win that game. So salvages 97 points, which is a good point total. I still prefer the Gibbs upside there. So maybe creates a little bit of an opening for Solomon here with just getting 180 points out of those two guys is probably decent. On the receiving side, we're missing Nico Collins here for the super team. He's just his 5th wide receiver, so it's probably not that big of a deal, but seems to be a bigger deal here because one of his guys has a rookie throwing him the ball that we're not even sure he should be in the NFL. So Higgins against the Giants. Higgins has been good since he's been healthy. Gets a connection with Burrow there for the stack. Seems fine. Devonta Smith back from his concussion. It's the Browns, and probably just resume his role there with playing the number 2 guy to AJ Brown, but should be solid. Olave with Rattler at quarterback is a little bit scary. Olave has had 2 dumpy games and 3 solid games. So I don't know. The Bucks are pretty bad against the pass. It'd just be really interesting to see how he looks. Wouldn't be overly confident, but this is what we got because Jalen Waddle's on bye, and he has probably a worse quarterback than Spencer Rattler. Good news is Brock Bowers is playing tight end, and it doesn't seem really to care who his matchup is. He's on pace to be the number 1 tight end for the year. So really good spot. The Young Ho scores a lot of points. Look at kicker points here. He's got to be pretty high in the old kicker ranks. I guess like 3rd. Oh, yep, 3rd. So he's going to kick a lot of field goals. The Panthers are not going to stop a lot, so there should be opportunity. Defense is fine. So get over to the Solomon side and go. So how do we beat the super team? what needs to happen over here. So first, we need the Cardinals in the Packers game to go crazy. So Jordan Love, 310. Cardinals seems like a good spot. Watched a lot of Cardinals football so far this year because I have two Cardinals pass catchers, and the disappointing thing has really been is that the Cardinals offense is pretty shitty. It seems like every game should be a shootout, but it's not really a shootout. So this week we need it to be a shootout so that Jordan Love can go nuts. The Cardinals have allowed two guys to go over 300 points. It was Josh Allen in week 1, who the Cardinals got out to a lead in that one. So that was Josh Allen playing from behind. And then Jaden Daniels put up 338 on him. Otherwise, it's 225, 253, 296. So I think a lot of that is these guys. I mean, it's Stafford, Goff, Daniels, and Purdy. So it's like 5 good quarterbacks that played these guys. So kind of I think it's going to be more of the same for Jordan Love. And they should be able to run too. And LaFleur would prefer just to run the ball a million times. Well, let's hope for the opposite. Running back, we have some good stuff here. We have Ramondre out, for the week, and Antonio Gibson should get more work. Unfortunately, it's against the Texans, who are pretty decent against the run. James Cook got him last week for 121, and Aaron Jones really went off on him for 173 in week 3, but otherwise, everybody else has been under 100 points. So we'll see if Antonio Gibson can get it done. Chuba just will continue to be solid. He's involved in the pass game and on the ground, obviously, so seems like a good spot. Diggs should get the slot. Avoid Christian Gonzalez. No Nico. Should be fed. Feel solid about that, other than Texans could be up huge and not need to pass. But when they are, Diggs should be targeted often. Garrett Wilson against the Bills, he had 22 targets against the Vikings, 13 catches. You need that to continue. There, it'll be really interesting to see how the Jets play with all the coaching shake up there and offensive changes too. So is that good for Garrett Wilson? It seems like it should be, but I don't know if it's really gonna be that different. Dobbs is just, I don't know if we can get the ball to Garrett Wilson more than they have already. Dobbs gets drawn in here for the start because JJ's on bye. Someone did pick up Michael Wilson, who's on the opposite side of this game. I don't know. I don't feel great about Dobbs. His high point total for the year is 65 points. It seems like all of the Packer receivers will be healthy again this week, so just don't feel like we have a huge upside week here, which is what we need to beat the super team. Kelsey also on bye, so Tyler Conklin fills in at tight end for Solomon. He's had a couple weeks over 100 points and then 3 pretty awful weeks as well. So you need the Jets to throw the ball a lot to Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. Just don't really feel like Tyler Conklin's a guy that's going to go win the game for you on Monday night, but maybe it's Tyler Bass kicking a ton of field goals for the Bills instead. Defense looks fine for Solomon. He's kind of in the Ryan boat where you got Kyle Hamilton and Xavier McKinney that need some big plays to make stuff happen. So when we look at the totals, the super team here is favored by just over 100 points. I'm really hoping that the best trash talker in the league gets the upset win. And I think we need the Bills to get ahead and have the Jets playing from behind on Monday night with Garrett Wilson and Conklin getting a ton of volume, and we need the Packers to go nuts against the Cardinals. I don't think there's a lot of downside of the Olave on the super team side of the ball. So go Solomon. All right, next up we have Sadeh versus Daggy. Should have put this one first because I've talked about the Rashawn Lattimore and Mike Evans stuff way too much already, but they don't like each other. They fight a lot. Should be fun. Sadeh has the all-time record here at 8-5. And look at the matchup. So Sadeh has Stroud against the Patriots. 317 is the total. doesn't feel like an eruption spot for Stroud here. The Patriots don't really play offense very well, so the Texans really need to do much to win the game. So Stroud is still good, but we're missing Nico, and we're not going to need to score a lot of points. Maybe it's not a huge week. Derrick Henry, on the other hand, that one seems like a good spot. He's been really good lately. It doesn't seem like he's the 30-year-old back that he is. But the Commanders don't really do too much to stop the run. James Conner's been over 100, Zach Moss over 100, Devin Singletary over 100, Rashad White over 100. So every week other than one, we've been over 100. And last week it was to Jerome Ford and Dante Foreman. So not super impressive. So good spot for Derrick Henry. I think you just hope that 125 is the total and not 225. Bijan gets the Panthers. Just like to see Bijan's been solid, but not outstanding. So under 100 points the last 3 weeks. Panthers matchup is excellent. They're really bad at football in general, but defensive football maybe even worse than the offensive side of it, if that's possible. So really good spot for Bijan. McLaurin against the Ravens. Talked about this game a lot. I think you just want players in this game, and McLaurin should be fine. Ravens have been very susceptible through the air. The third worst team in the league defending the pass. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both crushed him last week. So wheels up for McLaurin. Debo gets a big 76-yard touchdown, as we talked about, talking about Purdy. So really nice start for Sade there with the 140 on Thursday night. Brian Thomas, talked about him a little bit last week. Seems like an every week start. Bears defense is tougher. And their corners are good. So maybe not the huge upside here, but probably a better start than Darius Slayton. He's on the bench. Laporta in that Dallas and Detroit game. Another one that seems like one where you just want to have players playing in that game. So just see if the target share picks up at all for Laporta. Kickers and defense are fine. Fred Warner, nice 57-point game on Thursday night. On the Daggy side of the ball, Jaden Daniels gets the Ravens. It's good. Ravens defense is bad against the pass. How much of it goes to McLaurin? How much of it goes to other people? Probably a key thing here to look at in this matchup. So Saquon, good. It's fine. Browns, wouldn't worry about it. Saquon's just a monster this year. So good spot. Doesn't really matter who he's going to play. Brees against the Bills. This is a good spot. What's going on with the Jets? This should be fun to watch. Do they feed Brees? Do we keep the split going with Braylon Allen? The Bills are the worst against the run in our league so far. Dare Agumbawable, I butchered that one. He had 93 points last week. Yeah, like he's not good. Achane had 192 in week 2. Justice Hill had 122. Derrick Henry had 252 in the same game, week 4. So you can run on the Bills. Really hoping that we get to watch Brees go crazy. Mike Evans get his 80 points in a half against Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore really, like, well, joking aside, I think they've gotten kicked out twice for fighting. There's other matchups. Lattimore shadows him and shuts him down. So may not be a huge week for Evans. Amon-Ra against the Cowboys should be fine. They think everybody's going to need to score a lot of points in that game, so it should be good. Diggy gets Evan Ingram back. Right now going with Schultz in the lineup ahead of him. Probably want to get a little look at Ingram and see how healthy does he look. Bears matchup probably isn't the best, and we're missing Nico. So maybe Schultz gets a few more looks. Just going to look here to see. He's just like a 70-point dude, so maybe that's fine. Aubrey kicks a lot of field goals, and he kicks them from really far away. So should be good. Defense looks solid. The 29 from Dodson, not so solid. So We had this up. Today has projected for the high point total for the week here with 1149. So we got a 98 point swing here on the today side of the ball. So I think Diggy's gonna have a good week. The Daniels matchup, they Saquon, Brees Hall, Amon-Ra all look good, but today's matchups look good too. And he's got the jump start from almost has a 120 point lead here after having each of them having a receiver and an IDP go on Thursday. So I think that just leans this today way. All right, last matchup here is me versus Tank. So we're starting running backs on the same team against each other. I'm sure that's happened before, but seems kind of weird. So Tank leads the all-time series here, 14-11. So we'll go through my stuff. Quarterback, I have Dak against the Lions. We're hoping that this is similar to the Geno against the Lions game from a couple weeks ago. Dak's been really good lately. Had a really nice game against the Steelers last week, and this seems like a good spot. Running back is a little bit tricky. We got Dobbins going here. He should get all of the work with Gus Edwards on the shelf. Maybe they work in the other whoever they're going to have as their number 2 running back in a little bit, but Dobbins should get plenty of work. Broncos defense isn't a great matchup, but we'll see how that one rolls. Pollard against the Colts, that is a good matchup, and Pollard's been good other than the 1 week I started him. He's been over 100 points every week, so we'll hope for that against the porous Colts defense. The Colts offense also gets off the field so quickly that gives the other team a lot of plays. Receiver side will roll a Tank Dell. The matchup probably isn't the best against the Patriots. I talked about this today. They don't know how much they're going to need to throw the ball to be able to keep up. Not sure who's going to get Christian Gonzalez to cover them. You'd think that Tank Dell would have him covering him, which is a concern. Maybe he follows Xavier Hutchinson instead with Nico out. Probably not Dell because he's in the slot, but take a shot here with see if Dell can increase his target share with Nico out. Marvin Harrison against the Packers. Is Jair going to cover him? I don't feel great about that matchup either. But take our chances. The Packers have been you can pass on them for sure, but I'm not sure Kyler can support both guys in the same game. He can support them separately, just not in the same game. London against the Panthers. I like that one. Panthers aren't best at stopping the pass, but we may not need to pass much the whole game, so maybe not a huge upside. McBride, good matchup there against the Packers too. I think we're gonna need to pass, and McBride looks good. Fairbairn has been almost as good as Aubrey so far this year, so that's a decent spot. Maybe the Patriots defense can force the Texans to some field goals, but we'll see. Defense looks fine. We're in the Tank side of the ball. We get Geno, who has a nice game on Thursday night. 342 is a nice total. Got a lot of that in mop-up time there. I shouldn't say mop-up time. Come from behind time in the fourth quarter, and that's what he's been doing this year. So not unexpected at all. Looks like James Cook is going to play against the Jets. He's been really good this year. Jets matchup isn't the best, but Cook's had a ton of volume, and he's only had 1 week where he had 49 points, but other than that, he's been over 100 and well over 100 in a few of them. So Jets sound a little bit scary, but Jordan Mason got him in week 1, Pollard in week 2. Guys have been fine against him. So Cook's good start. Tajay Spears. There's a lot of talk in the beginning of the year that Pollard and Spears are going to be 1A, 1B, kind of like 50% split, and Pollard's definitely gotten more of that, but match against the Colts is really good. So, all it takes is one screen pass, one run to put up a nice point total. So Spears definitely has a possibility. Just depends on how many touches he's going to get. Takes a run with Zay Flowers here. He's got let's see, he's got Pittman that could come off of IR, but Zay seems like a better bet for sure in this Commanders Ravens game. And CD, it seems like a really good spot for CD. Kind of like a squeaky wheel scenario. Lions defense susceptible to the pass. So, how much of the Dak passing yardage goes to CD probably is a big part of how this matchup shakes out. Jaden Reed has been great with Jordan Love, so good spot against the Cardinals. Tucker Kraft. I mean, not Ferguson. Musgrave hasn't really done anything this year, so Tucker Kraft has been the guy, but has really emerged over the last 2 weeks here with 124 in week 4 and 220 last week. So good spot here. We have our tight ends dueling against each other, and also our wide receivers dueling against each other in the same game. We needed a backup kicker or new kicker because Tank's kicker got hurt, so we'll go with the Nick Folk in the Titans game here as well. So defense looks fine. So we add it all up, and I think I'm a slight favorite here by about 30 some points. So I think Dak, hoping that Dak carries the team, and then James Cook makes it close on Monday night. So we'll be sweating this one out until the end of the game. So summary: Jake over Greg by 50, Corey over Ryan by 211. The super team takes Solomon down 102-point margins today over Daggy, 37 points, or by 97 points, and then me over Tank for 37. That's all I got. Hopefully everybody's guys stay healthy, make it through the week without getting killed in the middle of the game, and good luck to everybody.